Pedro, we thank you for coming up to set up Darren. Darren was our featured guest tonight. We appreciate that.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm enjoying, even though this is not Dominican weather, I'm enjoying my time here.
So last night you were in Bangor, Maine, and I had an event out there, and I read the article today, and it seemed like it went very well.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Not the weather, the event, yeah.
No, not the weather. I actually got a little bit scared when we were coming over and we were turning into the hotel and the car started flipping from the back, like, whoop. I was like, uh-oh. Even though Dominican is crazy when it comes to driving, I never experienced that here. So.
So what do you think? Mainers are bad drivers, or how about Massachusetts?
No, our driver was pretty good
Yeah.
all the way, except the snow started messing around our way over. But thank God we made it safely, and we're here. So let's have fun.
Yeah. Pedro, how's your family, first and foremost?
My family is great. I have the blessing to actually join this kid over here, the barf, and joined his father, even though he doesn't like us, you know. Those Yankee people, I don't know. But I have a kid that was actually picked up by Detroit. He's a 16-year-old, becoming a future star, hopefully, you know, and hopefully I'll be able to share this moment with him one day.
So what's that like when you see your son playing professionally?
You know, for me, I'm from the old school. Like I can sit back and relax and look at him and clearly imagine or see or pre-see pretty much everything he's going to go through. But at the same time, I feel so proud. I feel, you know, so anxious to see that he makes it, you know, in good shape, that he's not hurt on the way up. Because I know a lot of people have talent, but you have to be blessed with good health to actually showcase what you have, work hard enough to get better every day at the things that you want to do. It also fills you up with confidence. When you know you work hard, you understand what you're doing, or you have proper teaching, and at the same time you can go out there and repeat it and execute what you're supposed to execute. It gives you a great sense of, you know, confidence when it comes to performing. And for my kids, I think it's just critical that they stay healthy. And believe it or not, my kid is a third baseman. Who will ever say, you know, a pitcher having a third baseman? But I actually feel more relaxed about the fact that he's a third baseman, because I know that in order for you to be a pitcher, you got to have like a little loose screw.
So little, right?
Just a little one, because you have to go through pain. You have to endure so much to be a pitcher. Now that you have experienced both sides, you know, it's not easy to pitch. I think pitching is the only position where you have to use from your nails to your hair. And you wonder why your hair, because if you have jerry curls, sometimes you go, when the ball is not feeling right, you rub it on the ball and the ball moves a lot more. So I didn't want my kids to be pitchers, but I'm glad I got him already on his way with Detroit, and wishing him that God will keep him healthy. We should do the rest all together, right?
Speaking of teaching, you're a special assistant. Jason Veritek, who was here last year, you're working with Dave Dombrowski. You've been to Hadlock Field before. And just expand on your role with the Red Sox.
Yeah, I think it's our duty now. Since I can't get it past 84, 83, I think it's my duty to pass my knowledge along to actually get the next generation, like he said, the next generation to have an easier path towards success, towards knowledge, experience that they're going to need, consistency, which is probably what leads you to stay in the big leagues. Sometimes, believe it or not, making it to the big leagues is relatively easy compared to what you have to endure when it comes to remaining in the big leagues. Managers I know love the fact that they can say, well, I'm counting on Pedro to give me a quality outing so that I can actually manage my bullpen or end up with a win. Even though not all the time that pays off. I remember one time I was on the plane for the first time ever in my career. My manager tells me, hey, you know what? I used the entire bullpen today. Because, man, I'm counting on you to give me at least 8. And then we'll find an arm there that will probably save it. But if you can go the whole distance, it will be great because I used everybody counting on you. It was the only time ever in my career that a manager went up to me and said, so please get your rest. You're going to go 9, you're in for the long haul. I kind of, felt funny, but I was confident. I said, okay, no problem. Got my seat right away on the plane. Said, okay, I got him. It was one of those easy teams at the time. It was Kansas City Royals. I said, you know what? I got you. I got your back. I go to Kansas City between a bloop and an error and a blast. I gave up 5 in the first inning. and that, I'm so proud of that game because somehow I was able to not only hold the game, I was able to pitch. I think it was like 8 innings. And then Wakey, who was the knuckleballer, took the ball, just like he said, and saved the game. We ended up winning, even though I gave up 5 in the first inning. But I had to really take a punch for the team. And it was the first time, but it's one of those special games where I feel really happy about having. And that's a special task.
How about your path to becoming a starter? Because at the beginning, there were some doubts that you could do that. But it all worked out, I think. Just a bit.
When I was looking at Barf, I said, damn, that boy is well put together. But then I stand up and you go, oh, is that the little man that did everything he did? I'm pretty sure you were looking at me funny. But you know what? I came up in the Dodgers organization. My brother Ramon was really like Ben Crockett. They look alike, very similar. Now Ramon is bald as well, so they're good looking, but they're both bold. But Ramon remains in the same shape and looks as good as when he started. And Ramon was a good-looking player and was also a pretty good pitcher. And, out of emergency, the Dodgers had me at the academy. Ramon dropped me there because I was a firecracker at home. I could get in trouble at any point. So he made sure that I went to the academy and right away to school. No time to waste because I was a firecracker. And the Dodgers saw this little man, I know his brother is a super athlete. This one's a little spider. I don't know. Didn't throw hard either. I was 83, 84 maybe. And they ended up signing me. But as soon as I signed, I remember the comments. Oh, this is a little spider. His brother is a super athlete. He's not going to develop. So that went on with me through the minor league system. Even though I breezed by the minor league system, let me tell you something I told them earlier. For those of you that don't know and don't know how drastic it could be, I came straight out of the Dominican Republic. Little town, West Santo Domingo, straight over to Great Falls, Montana. Out of all places, Great Falls, Montana. Talk about drastic change.
That was in my notes, by the way, yeah.
Yeah, Great Falls, Montana. I also had a great family, just like you had, hosting you. I had a great family, the Hafners. Shelly Hafner. You know what Shelly means in Spanish? Conchita. So instead of calling her Shelly, I would say Mama Conchita. Shelly is Conchita. So that's what I call them. And I breezed through the minor leagues, did everything I had to do, broke my brother's record in the minor leagues. I did everything, but I didn't fit the uniform right. So they continue to say, oh, no, he's not, wouldn't give me a chance. Until finally, in 93, out of emergency, they called me up. But they called me up in relief because they didn't believe I could pitch 5 innings in the big leagues. And as soon as the season was over, my brother goes, you better ask Tommy Lasorda what you're going to be, because they used me as a starter in Japan and all over. He used me 67 times that year. That was also another Dodger record in relief. Pitched 107 innings in relief. So I was second Rookie of the Year behind Mr. Mike Piazza, Tommy Lasorda's godson. So I finished second, and as soon as I asked Tommy Lasorda in Japan, he told me, what am I going to do so that I can, self-prepare better for next year? But I was looking for a spot in the rotation. And he says, we'll talk when we get back to L.A. Guess what? The whole team flew to L.A. Me and Ramon flew to Chicago, Miami, and I never saw Dodger Stadium again. I was traded the very next day after I landed. And the rest is history. I ended up in Montreal, traded to Dan Duquette, who was crazy enough to trade for me from the Dodgers for a superstar, the Lionel Shields. And then he was crazy enough to trade for me again from Montreal to Boston, and both times it paid off for him. You rarely get that lucky.
So what were you? Do you remember the day that you got the call going to Boston?
Yeah, I do remember the day. I don't remember the date, but I do remember the day.
Just the little details, yeah.
Well, I was expecting it. I was a little bit shocked to hear that I went to Boston, because Boston had finished like almost in the same place we finished in Montreal. And I was told by Felipe, well, we're going to try to get you a good team so that you can get a win somewhere. I mean, we were almost going to win it in 94. I think we would have won it in 94. It's Felipe. That's how he talks. Hey, Pedro, I'm going to make sure that you got a good team. I mean, what kind of team you think have a pretty good chance for you to go? I said, the Yankees. John Wetland was traded to the Yankees. The Yankees won right away, and said, the Yankees. Oh, no, I don't know. I said, Cleveland. I said, Baltimore. San Francisco. No LA. No LA. Never. And I was expecting one of those teams that there were rumors. Oh, Pedro, you're going to Cleveland. Pedro, you're going to the Yankees. I think Posada was in that trade. Posada would have been in that trade. They ended up not happening. And then all of a sudden, oh, Pedro, you're traded to Boston. I'm like, what? Boston just finished just like us. What happened? Well, Jim Beattie, I guess, lied to me. And I wasn't really happy. But believe me, after my experience in Boston, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. And also, being traded to Montreal was probably the best thing that happened in my career.
And in that second year with the Red Sox, I mean, 98 was great, but of course, 1999, you had the unbelievable season, triple crown for a pitcher, but you had the All-Star game when Ted Williams was there, and then the playoffs where you pitched in relief. So that 99 season was kind of your first big year in Boston, and I'm sure you can remember it like yesterday. 98
wasn't little either. Except we had a guy that was supposedly done here in Boston, and then showed up in Toronto and won 15 in a row. And I was able to reel in 14, but I ended up one shy. And he ended up beating me for the Cy Young. That was Mr. Roger Clemens. Yeah, when he went to Toronto, something clicked. I don't know. And all of a sudden, I was the one traded to Boston to try to take his place, and he ended up beating me. So, but 1999 was a special year. It's probably one of my greatest years. I won't put 97 either behind that one. I also struck out 300, had a 1.9 ERA in a bad team in Montreal, completed 13 games, something I don't think you're going to see ever again. A pitcher completing 13 games in one season, I don't think you're going to see that again. But 99 and 2000 were two great seasons that I had here in Boston, and winning the Triple Crown, having the opportunity to go to the All-Star game, the greatest All-Star game I think that will ever live. Just like Ted Williams was the greatest hitter that ever lived. I think I had the chance to. I had the chance to experience it. I had the chance to do it in Boston. And, I'm extremely proud of that moment. It would never go away from my mind, not precisely for what I did, but because it was to Ted Williams, the All Century team, which is something I don't think I'll get to see again, was there in this play. I've never seen another All-Star game that had the electricity that we had here in Boston, especially when me and Nomar took the field. Those are special moments, and not only that, my trophy wasn't really the MVP, was the fact that I got to go and sit down with Ted Williams, and he told me in a little video, it's in a little video somewhere, where he says, "You're one hell of a pitcher." And he shook my hand and signed my program, which I really, really treasure.
I would think for a lot of people out there that remember that when he was out there on the field before the game talking to everybody, it has to go down as one of the best moments in All-Star game history.
Well, it was really emotional. It was just, the only thing I have against it is the fact that I had to go warm up, and I was so far away. But when I saw all the players on the screen, the only thing that interrupted, all the emotions that were going on was the three planes that passed by. They shook the entire stadium up, and then everybody was just hugging Ted Williams, and I was ready to pitch, and nobody would get off Ted Williams. And I was whenever I had to pitch, I was really anxious to get to the field. I don't know what it was, but I didn't want to wait. I'll get cranky. But that day, everybody got away with it.
How about the playoffs that year in '99 when you had to pitch relief?
Coming out of the bullpen, I will have to say that was the first time ever that I put my career in jeopardy for the city of Boston, for the team. I wasn't feeling right. It was one of the most difficult moments in my career. I knew I was hurt. And you know what? Looking back at it, since then is when I started developing arm problems, because I did risk it all, but it was worth it. It was worth it. I would never regret what I did. It was a special moment. I have extra motivation for that, because in the '98 season, I was having the best first half, and Mike Hargrove, the manager from the Cleveland Indians, chose David Wells from the Yankees in Colorado to pitch as a starter, and then out of respect, he was going to pitch Roger Clemens after, and then he would pitch me third. When I was leading the league, I was already a Cy Young Award winner. I was having the best season, and I found it offensive. I said, "You're going to use David Wells? If it's out of respect, you pitch Roger Clemens." And we all would just tip our hats. But then you're going to use Roger after, and then you're going to use me? I said, "No, my arm is sore." And then I went on to blank Baltimore, the first outing. Guess what? The next one was Cleveland. Blank him too. So I had extra motivation to actually come out against Cleveland. And 99 was no exception. I wanted to take the ball against Cleveland. I did not want Cleveland to win. And even though I don't have anything against the city of Cleveland and the team, I did want to beat up on Hargrove.
2003, 2004 teams, it's just amazing how dramatic the end of 2003 was, but for as dramatic as that was, we know what happened in 04, but that 03 team, it's just unbelievable. I mean, now you can go back and look things up so easily, but just enlighten us about that 2003 team.
You know, sometimes we teach the kids there's no crying in baseball. I did want to cry in 03. In 03, I really wanted to cry for that game. But I didn't, because it was the Yankees, and I did not want to give the Yankees a tear. But deep inside, it's the most painful game I've ever had. That's Game 7 in 03. The Yankees got away with it. But guess what? Game 7 in 04. And running, to right field line and knowing that we did it in Yankee Stadium paid you back with the same thing. It is the most amazing feeling that you can get when you have your heart broken the year before in the same kind of situation, except that they're going to have to carry that as the biggest choking ever in the history of sports. We did it battling. We lost battling, but they choked. And that I'm proud of. I'm extremely proud of that.
Some of the most epic games I think any of us have ever seen, and some of our front office people were at Game 3. What was the score of that? 19-7?
19-something.
Yeah. So you're down 3-0, you lose 19-7, and then don't let us win one, Millar, right? He takes all the credit for
saying that?
Yeah.
Well, I think Millar doesn't play by himself. As much as he says. But in reality, what turned around what our demeanor was, the fact that two players said that we led the league in hugs, including Tim McCarver, said they lead the league in hugs, in bad hair, and handshakes. And they all look like idiots. Because we didn't really stop to mope around because we were getting our butts lit up. We actually, took the comment in a bad way coming from the players because players respect players. You can beat me up, but don't brag about it. And some of those players came up and said, they look like idiots, and we're going to sweep them tonight. The Boston Herald and the Boston Globe, they don't waste any time to pick up anything you say. Headline. They look like idiots, and we're going to sweep them today. And I happened to get to the stadium at about 12:31 to get my running done. And I was also angry and embarrassed to be losing to the Yankees that way. So I just went, picked up the paper, stuck it on the board. Team only meeting. So I did write that. I was like, who called the meeting? Who called the meeting? Who called the meeting? I just said, well, there's team players, team only meeting, no coaches, no trainers, nobody. We were about to do some ugly thing, but we wanted to somehow get a win. And we kept it clean, but our intentions were probably different. But we ended up getting that win. The critical situations, how we got it done. But after we won that one, I guess everything just turned around. That's why you need to keep it quiet, because sometimes you wake up a sleeping giant and you don't know what to do with him. And that's what happened. Someone just was too loud, talking about us. And we took it personal.
And the fact that you did it there, that's how you finished it.
Yeah, we did it in Yankee Stadium. I wanted to take my pants off and kind of I did. When I ran down the third base line and back to right field, I wanted to kind of just, I don't know, show them something that they have never seen, but I had to remain professional. So I just gave them a couple of handshakes and, yeah, gotcha.
And then that St. Louis series, you just...
No, nobody will beat us.
Yeah.
I think the World Series really was the series against the Yankees.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I saw a lot of excitement this past World Series. It was a good World Series. Exciting for the fans, for some of us that know pitching. Sometimes I felt like, oh my gosh, is anybody ever going to drill someone to get an out? Sometimes I felt that way because, you know, it was shameful sometimes, but for the fans it was great. It was really exciting. But after we beat the Yankees and we were past the Yankees, you could get every star from every team and put them together and nobody would beat us after that.
Just overall, you play, obviously those playoff games with them were amazing, and we know with the brawl with A-Rod in 04, but even some of the
No, that was a sissy hit.
Yeah.
The one with Bronson Arroyo, that was a sissy hit. Get off me. But, you know, later on, facing Tech, it's not an easy task. You know, the Grizzly, when he gets mad, you don't want to mess around with them.
Talk about your relationship with him.
With Tech, very special. If I was to say that I really had success in Boston, I owe half of it to his work ethic, his discipline, his willingness to actually forget about it, the basics he learned about catching, to become Pedro's partner. Because I pitched totally different than most of the guys in the team. And he was able to make the transition from what he was basically taught to handle everybody else to become my own catcher. And we work alike. We would look at each other. He knew when I didn't want to shake up a sign, or he knew when not to give me a sign. He would just say, throw it. And he knew what I had in the back of my mind. That's how close we got to be. He was someone really special that really did his homework, someone that worked harder than anybody at pleasing everybody in the rotation, and not only in the rotation, the entire staff. He is someone that I really owe all the respect in the world, and someone that if I had success in Boston, I owe him probably half of it.
Want to stick with some of your teammates too. Big Papi.
Woo! Well, we're hoping that this guy can actually do some similar to that, because if we ask for the same thing, we'll be asking a lot. But Big Papi, God put him on my way. I happened to land in a restaurant one night. I see the man that's used to smiling a lot, kind of moping down, and it's just amazing that I was able to get to the restaurant as David is getting released. Talk about finding pity over there in Arizona. Well, I was right there when David got the call that he was released from Minnesota. Getting to the restaurant, tapping him in the back. Destiny, I don't know. I won't take credit for it because David did everything he had to do. The only thing I want to say is thank you, God, for using me as a bridge to get David to Boston, because I was the one that made the phone call.
Pedro, it really shows how much more than baseball this is because of your relationships, the way you talked about Veritek and Big Papi, and then I want to keep going here with some of these teammates. Manny.
Manny, woo! Yoo-hoo! You never know. You never know with Manny. I still don't know.
Yeah. Does he still know? No?
I talk to Manny and I go, dime monstro. He goes, wey, chiquito. Then, how are you? Couple of verse from the Bible. Another line for like an hour of reading. And then, Manny, where are you? Manny, where are you? 2 weeks later. Wey, chiquito. He remains in the same mode. Manny is being Manny. Manny is someone that you could never really sense what he was going to do that day. But I'll tell you what. Someone gifted, someone that worked hard at what he did. One of the best hitters I've ever seen, and one of the hardest workers without anybody knowing at his craft that I have ever seen. Someone very difficult to tell how he was going to be that day. And I still don't know, but believe me, just like all of you fans, I enjoy his craziness. I really did. Manny going behind the green monster and peeing inside the green monster. And then grabbing a ball up and running back to the wall and then shaking the hand of a fan and then throwing the ball back. Cutting off Johnny Damon. What for? And diving for it too. You just never know with Manny. Getting the media all together. Hey, I have something really important to tell the media. The media makes a huge circle all around the field. Manny, what is it that you're telling the media? I'll tell you later, Chiquito. Manny, what is it? They're in the field. They need to get off the field. Kerry and everybody's pulling everybody out of the field. No, Manny's going to say something important. Manny shows up 2 minutes before the game, and the media was just piling up around, waiting for Manny. You just never knew. Yeah. Crazy Manny.
You think that was just by design at times, or do you still not know? We'll never know.
We will never know. Manny is still... I heard someone say, not too long ago, that they were still waiting for Manny to cash one of his checks. Is that true, Benny Crockett? They were still waiting. They still had a check for Manny that he left in his locker. I don't know if they sent it back. I don't know that they had to. But Manny, I don't know. You never knew with Manny. Manny would go to Ross and buy, I don't know, five jackets, boots that were size 12. Manny was a 9.5? You never knew with Manny.
Hey, this is a great list I have for you. Your most strikeouts, the guy you struck out the most was the guy you talked about earlier, Jorge Posada.
Really?
Posada, Jeter,
I'm glad.
And Williams in that
Boy,
order.
see? I didn't know that one. I thought it was Jay Buhner. But
see, you can't lie anymore because you can look everything up.
I know but see, I feel even better now. I know it was Posada. Who was the one I drilled the most?
The what?
Who was the one I drilled the most? Most hits by pitches.
I think Jose Guillen.
Jose Guillen? Oh no, those were changeups and breaking balls.
Manny did not have a home run or RBI against you. Did you ever tell him that?
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember getting Manny out, but I don't know how many hits or whatever. Those guys don't count. But the Posadas and guys like that, I really take serious.
So when you get that call from the Hall of Fame that you're going in, what's that like?
Very emotional. Very emotional because after the 99 season, I came to Boston with my mindset that I was going to be the MVP. Triple crown, 300 strikeouts. I mean, all kinds of numbers. Probably the greatest single season in the history. And you don't get the MVP because two knuckleheads decided that they weren't going to vote for me because they wouldn't vote for pitchers. But yet they voted for different pitchers, different times, including after. So I don't know if it was because of my curly hair or whatever. But since then, I had the fear that because it wasn't in the fans' power to get me to the Hall of Fame, it was on the writers' power to actually get me or get me out. I was hesitant to say that I was going to get that first ballot Hall of Fame call. And even though I was here in Boston, I was busy having dinner. I didn't know if I was going to make it. They said, we're going to call you, and we'll let you know if you made it. I started off 100% and then dropped quickly. All of a sudden, I said, well, maybe a couple more, and knuckleheads probably won't vote for me, and then I'm going to be disappointed. So I wasn't really 100%. But once I got the phone call and they said, you made it, your first ballot Hall of Fame, I didn't know what to do. I had tears. I had emotions. I had to think about my dad who passed away. Every time I hear the word cancer, I really get emotional because of my dad. I knew that was a space where he would want to be. That was a moment of pride for him, and he wasn't there. So I got a lot of mixed emotions, but at the same time, a lot of joy and happiness, knowing that the Dominican Republic had their second. There's so many players, Barf, so many players that you play with, only 2 Hall of Famers. It's difficult to kind of swallow, to understand that we have so many Dominican players and only 2 Hall of Famers. And that made me feel really happy, the fact that I was the second player to represent the Dominican Republic in the Hall of Fame.
Pedro, we can say that we're happy that you joined us tonight, and we are happy that you're still in the Red Sox system, and great job. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.